2002 year Ethiopia group. Scientists working at the crater of one of the most dangerous volcanoes on the planet. They accumulated a bag of household garbage weighing 30 kilograms, and they decided to just throw it into the lava. What happened then shocked even the most experienced volcanologists. But what if we actually started recycling all our trash in... Volcanoes are a good idea or the start of a real disaster every year. Humanity produces 2 billion tons of garbage is like 400 million elephants. Americans alone throw away 254 million tons of waste a year. Landfills around the world are overcrowded. The level of pollution of the oceans is off the charts, and the problem is only growing every year. Because of this, people began to come up with more and more crazy ideas. To shoot garbage far into space is too expensive. It is thousands of dollars per kilogram to dump into the ocean trenches already tried until the 1970s. As a result of radioactive contamination, huge areas of the seabed will remain dead zones for hundreds of years where nothing living survives. Then there was another idea. And what if you use volcanoes because how natural incinerators can destroy everything without a trace? To understand what is happening, when trash meets lava, let's go back to 2002 year. Erta volcano in Ethiopia is one of the few on the planet with a permanent lava lake is the place, so inhospitable that the locals call it the gates of hell. The air temperature here reaches 50 degrees, and in the crater boils a lake of molten lava at a temperature of more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. An international team of volcanologists from France, Italy, and the United States came here for research. The team included experienced scientists, including the French volcanologist Pierre Vai, and specialists from the French National Research Center. Their goal was to install measuring instruments to take samples of lava and study the behavior of one of the most active lava lakes on the planet. After several days of hard work in extreme conditions, the expedition accumulated a bag of household garbage, plastic bottles, metal cans, food remnants, rags, ordinary waste of camp life. In the conditions of the African desert, where hundreds of kilometers to the nearest city and transport only camels, it was extremely difficult to take out garbage. And when one of the scientists proposed an obvious solution, "But what if you just throw it in lava?" Seemed logical because lava destroys everything in its path. A bag weighing about 30 kilos slowly lowered to the edge of a lava lake and dumped into a red-hot mass. The first seconds nothing was happening. Bag slowly sank into the lava like a stone in the water, but as soon as he struck thin crust on the surface of the lava lake, something unexpected happened. A powerful explosion shook the entire crater. Hot lava splashes rose too. A few meters up, and the shock wave made scientists panic. Run to a safe distance. The roar was so strong that it was heard a kilometer from the crater. What happened when the cold garbage hit the red-hot lava heat? Instantly started. Evaporate water from organic waste turned into steam plastic. Began to decompose, releasing toxic chlorine gases, hydrogen, coal gas, and other poisonous compounds. All this created a huge volume of steam and gases under a dense crust of lava. Pressure increased dramatically, and when she reached a critical point, the gas rushed out like from an overheated boiler. Red-hot lava fired a fountain to the height of a 5-story building, and the shock wave knocked scientists off their feet. They and two managed to roll back from the edge of the crater, fleeing from the deadly splashes of molten rock. The experiment was immediately stopped, but the question remained open: and what if you try to do the same thing only on a much larger scale? What happens if you turn volcanoes into global incinerators? At first glance, volcanoes really seem like ideal incinerators. The lava temperature reaches 1,200 degrees. This is much more than in any industrial furnace. Volcanoes work. Do not require fuel around the clock and seem capable. Digest any waste, but reality turns out to be much more difficult. The first problem is there are just few of them on the whole planet. There are only about 500 potentially active volcanoes, and most of them are completely inaccessible places. In the middle of oceans, in mountains, in deserts, away from human habitation. This Logically, volcanoes pose a deadly threat to all living things. Second problem. Not all volcanoes are suitable for garbage disposal. Need so-called shield volcanoes with permanent lava lakes. These are slowly erupting volcanoes that do not explode but gradually. Poor lava of such units on the planet, most volcanoes are stratovolcanoes known for their explosive eruptions. Approaching them with trash trucks would be suicidal. The third problem. Logistics. Imagine, you need to deliver millions of tons of debris to the craters of volcanoes located in the most inaccessible places of the planet. Thousands of trucks, caravans of camels, helicopters. All this will require colossal fuel costs. The carbon footprint from such transportation will be many times greater than from the usual burning of garbage on the spot. Fourth problem. Safety. Work at the edge of an active volcano is a constant game with death. Poisonous gases that rise from the crater can kill in minutes. Lava splashes can burn any protective clothing. And sudden changes in volcano activity can take workers by surprise. The fifth problem. The lava itself is not as omnipotent as it seems. Yes, it melts most materials, but not all metals with a high melting point will remain in the lava in the form of impurities. Many chemical compounds do not break down completely and turn in the poisonous gases that rise. In the atmosphere, plastic, when burning, emits dioxins, one of the most toxic substances on the planet, and most importantly, if a bag weighing 30 kilograms caused such a powerful explosion, imagine what will happen to tons of garbage in the Hawaii and Iceland and on Kamchatka. Tourists constantly throw bottles and stones into lava flows for spectacular shots for social networks. On the Etna volcano, tourists stand a few centimeters from molten lava, ignoring the requirements of the authorities to observe a distance of at least 500 meters. And on Kamchatka, tourists even fry sausages on lava. Each such hit of a folk object causes instant evaporation and small explosions, scattering hot spray for tens of meters. But this is just a bottle or stone and not a bag of various waste. But imagine for a second a fantastic scenario that we still decided to use volcanoes as once seriously considered space junk catapults or underwater waste disposal. What it might look like: huge caravans of trucks stretching through deserts and mountains to a few suitable volcanoes. Special roads built to the crater for billions of dollars, protective suits for workers, air purification systems, automatic garbage dumpers. And then constant explosions poisoning air for hundreds of kilometers around acid rain from emissions. Any change in volcano activity would turn into a disaster. Planetary-scale volcanic winds. From ash emissions, groundwater pollution, destruction of ecosystems. No, definitely, you should not turn volcanoes into landfills, as well as you should not turn the ocean into a radioactive dump that humanity actively did in the 20th century. Fortunately, modern civilization has much more reasonable and effective solutions to the problem of waste. Today, in developed countries, new generation incinerators are actively used. These are not just furnaces, but high-tech complexes with a multi-stage filtration system. They not only destroy waste at a temperature of 850 degrees, but also generate heat and electricity in Sweden. Such plants provide energy to entire cities, and emissions are so clean that they meet the strictest environmental standards. In parallel, deep sorting and recycling of waste is developing. Modern sorting complexes use robotic hands and artificial intelligence systems that can separate plastic from metal, paper from glass, with an accuracy of 95%. In Germany, 66% of all household waste is recycled. In South Korea, 59%. A revolution in the fight against garbage. Promise biotechnology. Scientists have already created bacteria that can eat plastic, turning it into harmless compounds. A Japanese company has isolated a bacterium that completely decomposes PET plastic in a few weeks. In parallel, develop biodegradable materials, packaging of algae and starch fungal mycelium, which itself disappears in nature in a month. An interesting economic approach is applied in Asia. The system of payment for garbage. Citizens pay for waste removal in proportion to their volume and type. The more there is no sorted garbage, the more the fee. It sharply encourages people to sort waste and throw away less. As a result, in South Korea, the amount of household waste decreased by 30% in 10 years. Plasma gasification is considered a promising technology, a process in which garbage decomposes in plasma at a temperature of over 3,000 degrees. It is a gas that can be used as fuel. Toxic emissions are practically does not remain until this technology is expensive, but it is actively developed. In Japan and Europe, all these methods already work in reality and have proven their effectiveness. They are safe, economically justified, and do not require the transformation of volcanoes into industrial facilities. So volcanoes are not natural waste disposal. These are complex, unpredictable, and extremely dangerous geological systems, which are better left alone. The Ethiopian experiment of 2002 years clearly showed even 30 kilograms of ordinary garbage can cause a powerful explosion in a lava lake, and millions of tons of waste would turn volcanoes into real-time bombs threatening the entire planet. Science does not tolerate simple solutions to complex problems, and humanity already found safer, effective, and environmentally friendly ways to deal with waste is the best. The way to dispose of garbage is recycling. Energy use and reduction of consumption. Rather than trying to force nature to do the dirty work for us, let volcanoes remain what they are, one of the most majestic and formidable phenomena of nature, and we have learned to dispose of garbage in more civilized ways. I could